Dear President Dole, dear delegates, I want to start from the words of thank you. Starting from yesterday, Georgian citizens can travel without visas to every European country. And my government has started the negotiations. We presided over them, we prepared them, we built the airports, we prepared the infrastructure, but we still couldn't believe until it really happened. It's like dream come true. And thank you, EPP, for speaking very strongly for that, because that's how European dreams get realized in a small nation. I have an honor to fight for immediately on two fronts. I preside over Georgia's national movement as an honorary chairman, but I also happen to be the leader of the fastest growing party in Ukraine. But here I am now representing the Georgian party, and I want to speak about Georgia. We have presided for 9 years over the most successful reform experiment in the post-Soviet world. We managed to change country beyond recognition and set examples for the other countries in the region. In 2012, we had one more proud achievement. After many years of success, for the first time in my country's history, we had a non-violent, peaceful, democratic transfer of power to the next government. The only problem is that we gave it without any problems. But we gave it to the people that don't seem to happen to ever be ready to wield power peacefully again through reforms and through changes and through democracy. The power was taken over by the biggest private shareholder of Gazprom, Ivanishvili, and he proceeded to imprison all the main opposition leaders, to exile the others, and I still cannot go back to my country. He happened to make joke of judicial system. He made fun of the very system of elections through manipulations, through money. You are talking about a person that perhaps owns more than a quarter of Georgia's overall GDP. And just as an example, opposition could not win a single seat in majority districts, which also shows how these elections were held. And now they are changing constitution to perpetuate the rule and for them to stay in power forever. Well, in 2008, after Russian invasion, Georgian people, with its heroic resistance, with unity of the government, and with support of international community, managed to stop Russia, and Russia could not capture Georgia as a country. 4 years later, a Russian oligarch and the Russian state applied now very famous active measures, provocations, bribery, all the methods we see now all around the world. They were first tried en masse in Georgia, and they captured the Georgian power and the very Georgian state. We had a capture of the state, not through the military means, but through elections. And here we are in this situation, when we formally have democracy, but what they achieved, they killed off the most daring reform experiment in post-Soviet space that posed challenge to the very essence of Putin's system and Russian regime. And this is overall picture, not only in Georgia. Here we have Maya Sandu, one of the most brilliant, promising young Moldovan leader. We just spoke to her. Moldova, exactly like Georgia, was captured single-handedly by an oligarch with Russian commercial ties, and basically that made fun of their democracy, because he thinks, like Ivanishvili thinks in Georgia, that they own those countries. They paid for them and nobody is going to take them away from them. In Ukraine, people are fighting to get rid of the misery imposed by the oligarchs. I think this is one of the biggest challenges we have now to the European democracies. We have these interest groups, oligarchs that own media, that decide whom to put on television, who should not be on television, who should be in power, who should be in parliament, who should not be in parliament, which party should pass the threshold, which party should stay out, what reforms should be implemented, what not, pro forma. But no real changes should happen, because any real changes menaces their status quo. This is an overall threat that menaces the very core of values for which we stand. I think freedom is freedom everywhere in all parts of the continent, and liberty is everywhere. Democracy means democracy everywhere. Elections mean elections everywhere. Freedom of word expression means freedom of expressions everywhere. Looks like not anymore. That's why the European People's Party, as the most value-based political family of the European continent, whose support and real moral ground of which we stood on together and we felt through all these years. We really are counting on you as a family to raise your voice for our values, and we will prevail. We will never surrender to this pressure. We will never yield to these tricks. We will never allow them to make fun of democracy, but of course we will fight together with your help. Thank you for having us here, and looking forward to future fights and future victories. Thank you again.